Yay! Okay world, here I am. I finally got there. Sorry, lots of techie rubbish and it wasn't working for ages, so I'm a whole 18 minutes late. But I'm now ready to start. I hope. I've no idea how well this is working, but with any luck, it should be grand. I don't think anyone's watching anyway, so that's absolutely fine. This is just going to be a test. If anyone happens to pop by, then ask a question, and I will gladly answer it, I hope. If you haven't got any questions, then you're stuck with whatever I've decided to do in the absence of any actual people. So I thought what we'd do today is talk about what chords to add to a melody that will work. It's the sort of thing that everyone wants to be able to do, and it's actually a lot more straightforward than people think. So, first of all, we need a melody. So, in the finest traditions of music theory classes, we will start with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, because it's the tune that everyone uses for everything. Let's that in. Oh, wrong button. What's a minim? That's a minim. Oh no, let's not do it twice. Okay, so that's our tune. So the first thing we have to work out is what key we're in. And the good news for this is that we're in C major, so we're going to keep everything nice and straightforward. So in the key of C major, our most common chord is always going to be C. But after that, in every key, the three chords that get used 99% of the time, certainly in anything pretty simple, are chords 1, 4 and 5. And using those chords, you can pretty much make any sort of standard kind of folk song, simple tune work. So in the key of C, our three chords, we've got chord 1 is going to be a C chord, chord 4 is going to be an F chord, and chord 5 is going to be a G chord. Now the great thing about those chords is that between a lot of them we've got C, F, and then the only notes missing from our C major scale are a D and a B, both of which are in our G chord. So all the notes from the major scale are used in those chords. So it's working out what chord to start with. Again, 99% of the time we're going to start with the key chord. But before we do that, I forgot something. There's one other more important thing. We need to work out how often we're going to change chords. With a lot of things, it kind of depends on the style. But in sort of pop music and that kind of stuff, you will often have the same kind of chords going on for a while. You get this sort of... So you've got one chord going for a whole bar there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That sort of thing. So you can probably have a chord going on for quite a long time here. I'm not sure if that really made sense, but it'll do. So we start on a C. So it makes sense that we're probably going to have a C chord to go with our C. The next note we need to worry about is a G. The good news is that both a C and a G are present in a C chord. So for that first bar, we can have a C chord all the way through. Oh, let's make it the right thing. Okay. But when we get to this bar, we've got an A in the tune. And if you play an A with a C chord, because it's not part of the chord, it will sound a little bit strange. So we're going to need to change the chord there. So out of our three chords that we had earlier on, only one of them has got an A in it. The G chord, no A. The F chord, however, has. So here, we're going to have an F chord, because that's going to fit with the A. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this. So we've got an F chord. But then it goes back to our G. So here we've got a choice. We could use the G chord, or we could go back to the C chord. It's entirely up to you. We could have... That's where we go back to C, or... Both work. Neither of them sound wrong as such, or at least they don't clash. But what most people are doing is probably going to go back to the C chord there. But this is entirely up to you. You can pick any chord that sounds good to you, but most likely it's going to be the C chord there, certainly for our purposes. Now we're going to get an F in the right hand. So fairly obvious which chord we're going to put with that. It's not going to be our C chord. It's not going to be our G chord. Let's go with the F chord. That's bound to work. So we've got an F, and then again, when we've got these E's in the melody, the only chord that can work is C, because it's the only chord that's got an E in it. And similarly with D, the only chord that can work, G, and then back to C. So most of the time, you've only really, if you're limiting yourself to those three chords, got one choice. So here, however, with the bit we've just got to, is another place where we could have either C, or we could use the G chord, and it would work just fine. So let's hear what we've got so far. That's fine. And then here, we could go to the G, or we could go to the C. In actual fact, either of them works just fine, and people do it with both. So which one should we go for? I'm going to go with the C, because that's just the way I like it. But so we've got there C. Need to put the thing on. Here again, we've got to go to F. The only chord with an E in it is going to be a C, and then we've got G. This is exactly the same. And then for the last bit, it's the same as the beginning. C. Oh, no, we made that semi-brief. And then we had an F chord. So all the way through now. I can't actually, let's see if I can squeeze that all onto one bit of the... Hang on, what's going on here? No, wrong button. Just going to try and make that so we can see the whole thing. Ah, there we go, right the way to the top. And if I zoom out a bit, we should see it all on one screen. Can we? No. I haven't got enough space. I'll have to scroll down as we go. Oh, I've disappeared as well. Never mind. Who cares? It'll work. Anyway, so our tune, we've got C, F, C, F, C, G, C, C, F, C, G, C, F, C, D, G, and then I'll just scroll down so you can see it. C, F, G, F, C, G, C. All works fine and dandy. So very easily you can work out what chords will work for any tune, and then life is good. However, it's quite possible that you go, hey, this is a bit dull. I want to do something else. So let's see if we can swap a few of these out and see what's going to work. So we said to start with that we were going to use chords 1, 4 and 5. And most of the time that's what you do. But let's try another one. Let's have also chord 3 and chord 6. So this gives us some minor chords to play with. So we've got an E minor chord and an A minor chord. I'm kind of making this up as I go along now. So let's see, what should we swap it out for? We could say, okay, that G there. We want to change chord more quickly. Let's try putting an E chord there. So if we make that, and then put an E chord here, oh, I have to press that button again. Let's see what that sounds like. Again, it works, but it changes the sound quite a lot, because this is a very sort of traditional tune. And as I said, very traditional sounding tunes are more likely to use there we go, I'm going to bring my face back. There we are. Are more likely to use sort of simple chords. But I actually quite like that. But then that sounds a bit dull. We got it a bit interesting. So we want to find what else could we do on the G chord. Our only option is going to be the G or the E chord. So let's see what happens if we swap that for an E chord. Hang on, have I pressed the wrong button again? And now it's interesting, but now actually the F chord sounds a bit plain. So let's change that for our A chord, which will hopefully work. Can I do this? Why isn't it working? There we go. Let's see what that sounds like. It's interesting. But one thing that we've spotted is that what I'm playing here sounds really weird in the left-handers, the way the chords are being played. And the reason for that is that they're all jumping around in root position. They're all in the same place and everything's moving in parallel. Which is very, very boring. And if everything moves in the same direction, it's just not going to be very interesting. So instead, let's see if we can play it around. What you often get is, say for example, you wanted to go from a C chord. I'm just going to get rid of that highlighted note so you can see. A C chord here to an F chord there. Now the C is present in both chords. So why don't we leave the C at the bottom, and instead of playing that C and doing a normal triad, voice the F chord like this. And you can see that it slides much more comfortably and it just sounds nicer. So what we want to do here is try and move things around a bit so that they're not jumping all in the same way. So for example, that B that we've got there, oh, that's the wrong button. I can never remember all the shortcuts on this. If we put that down an octave, suddenly that looks much smoother. And here, maybe the E and the C are way, way up there. Let's move both of those down. And put that one there. And we'll see if that sounds, it's still the same three chords, just we've rearranged the notes to make it flow more smoothly. So now it's going. Oh, and I forgot the last one. So here, what I just did there, I put the B and the D down an octave. So when I play that with the melody, you'll hear that it sounds much, much smoother. So there you have it. That's basically how you can put chords together to fit with a melody. Possibly wasn't my greatest explanation, but as we only had one person watching for a grand total of about 30 seconds, in fact I don't think it was even for that long, we'll leave it like that. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to try and spread the word out to a few more people. So if by any chance you stumble across this video and you have some questions about music theory, do write me a note through either Facebook or YouTube, whichever one you found me on, and I will gladly try and talk you through them. And I will try and, I'm probably going to do this. I'm going to do a question and answer thing once a week, and then probably every so often, every couple of days maybe, try and do a specific topic. So if you've got something you really, really want to hear about, then I say pop down a question and I will try and put it in my next one. Thank you very much. If you happen to stumble across this, I say do let me know what you want to hear about and I will try and cover it. Thank you. Goodbye.